In this video, I want to look at using text areas and a couple of things that we can do for organizing our form data. So first, I want to add in a text area label for, we'll just make it comments, and then put in a text area element. ID equals comments, name equals comments, and just adding that in, when we go back to our form, refresh our page, we can see we have this comments field down here. We can resize it whatever size we need to. Some things move around along with that. I'm going to add this line break in so that our submit button goes down below our comments. And we can resize that. We can make it bigger. We can make it smaller. Whatever the user might want to do with that, they can. There are ways to turn that off that we're going to look at later. But just by default, the browser is going to give it a certain size. You can change that in the attributes by adding cols and rows. Those are going to be the number of columns, so the number of characters basically that you can have in there. So if we want to limit that to 250 per row and only have, say, 3 rows, we can do that. And when we refresh this page, that 250 columns, kind of big, much bigger than what we need. So say we only want that to be, I don't know, 45 columns, so that it's a little bit shorter. We can do that. We can have it whatever size we need. It's still resizable. That's not going to change anything. We can enter in some text here, and it's just going to drop down to the next one. It's not going to make it any wider. It's going to give us the scroll bar. We can increase the size of this box, and the text and everything just kind of moves along with it. And it's taking some of those line breaks into account if we have them there, so that you don't have to worry about that. It's nothing major. Either way, these are fairly common fields. Usually they're resizable. They don't have to be. You can set your starting size to whatever you need it to be here. So if I want it to be 25 columns, 5 rows, again, like we looked at, we can do that and have that box be whatever size we need it to be. The text area does have a closing tag that our input tags do not. So you'll need to remember that. And if you want some text in here to default to, you can. My comments are here. Now, if you want that to just have some text in that box, that is not a placeholder. That's text that you could just use and have in there, whatever you need to do. So now the next thing I'm going to look at is organizing some of these fields a little bit, and depending on how you have your form set up, what you need, what makes sense, you can use the field set tag. So I'm going to wrap some of this in a field set. So yeah, we'll wrap down to birthday inside of this field set. Tab that over so it's easier to follow. Now we have a field set. for that, and then we are going to use a field set for the rest of our fields here. And just having field set in there, it's kind of grouping those together. And by default, it's going to have these borders on it. You can take those off using CSS. We'll look at that later. But you can kind of organize your form fields a little bit better so that it helps the user know what's what. Inside of the field set, you have the legend. So call this personal info, and then give this one a legend of other info. And then when we refresh our page, we can see that personal info and other info is inside of these field sets, or in the border of the field set, so that you can easily show the user what is going on there, what kind of information it is, group it together. It kind of breaks it apart a little bit so that they can see what it is you're asking for. And the next video, I am going to look at using the input type checkbox and input type radio.